So, I want to hurry up and get this off my chest because I've been meaning to talk about this for the longest period of time, especially around the time when I was doing my whole experiences as a quote unquote targeted individual. And I was doing all of that. Sorry, sometimes my thoughts get jumbled and I have to recollect what I was trying to say. But recently, with all this stuff going on with the celebrities, with the Orlando Brown coming out and saying that Nick Cannon, I think, performed oral sex on him, or he performed oral sex on Nick Cannon, or one or the other. And with the Kobe Bryant situation. And I told myself that I'm not going to continue to talk about certain things. I really just want to get the word out there and about the word, the good news, the gospel. I really want to just talk about God because that's what we need to be focused on in these last days and times. Because whether you like to accept it or not, honey, these are the last days and times. So I was watching another girl's channel and she was telling me about how she was living with celebrities. I was watching Chartice Wells' channel, and I like to say whose channel I was watching because I realized from a lot of the things that certain people say, and usually the people that like are within the quote unquote so-called TI community, and they make videos, I realized through my discernment and good sense that these people watch my videos and they talk about certain things that I might have said, or they might use my Candace, is that the word? They might use my style or something like that. I don't like to say people that I don't think it's that serious, but they'll never shout me out. I think there was only one girl that was Coolin' with T, who actually mentioned me and my channel in one of her videos because they have a very large following. I don't have a very large following. I'm not on here to get a very large following. I'm not on here to be a YouTuber. That is not my intention. I just want to say what I have to say and keep it pushing, and whoever benefit from it, and if they don't benefit from it, I just want to say what I have to say. But all in still, my thing is, I don't mind you coming over here and benefiting from watching my channel, and I don't mind you getting ideas or whatever from my channel, but, shout me out. Give a sister a shout out. I'll be saying the same thing on Facebook when, I know you've been stalking me, and I know you've been watching me, and then you go say something or post something. I mean, shout me out at me, okay? Shout me out. I know my channel is very raw. You can't see my face, and that's for several reasons, because I'm really out here about this life. People take pictures of me while I'm walking down the street because people want to have images of me so bad. So, I'm not going to come on here just showing my face and, my location and things like that. But I know my channel is real raw, and because of that, it's not very polished. Some people might feel like, oh, well, I don't want to send people over there because it's not a reputable site. What they say about the internet, it's not very reputable. But if you're benefiting from it, whether you can see me or not, whether it's raw or not, whether I have a background or music playing or whatever, it's still information, So that's what I'm trying to say. And, whatever. Anyhow, with all that being said, I wanted to talk about my celebrity gang stalking experiences. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to start this off. I hope I'm talking loud enough, 'cause I know my voice is real soft and whispery sometimes. But, yeah, what was I going to say? So, yeah, I was on Instagram, and I was, on Instagram going down the timeline, and most of my friends on Instagram were celebrities. Celebrities that I liked, celebrities whose music I liked, celebrities whose movies I liked, celebrities. I didn't really have too many average, normal people as my friends on Instagram based upon the fact that most of those people were my friends on Facebook. And I feel like if I'm going to go to every social network site and just add the same people from the last social network site, then, I mean, I could have just stayed over there on that network site. You know, why am I over here? But I guess that just makes too much sense. So whatever. I was following Orlando Brown's baby mother. And this was around the time when she was pregnant. And then, you know, I was following her throughout the pregnancy. You know, she was posting pictures constantly throughout the pregnancy. I would always say, oh, you know, whatever, whatever. Because she was like an average girl, you know. She wasn't really a big celebrity. She was just his baby mother. Here they go. She was just his baby mother. And so eventually she had the baby. And he was so cute, real cute little chubby baby. But then he was trying to act like the baby wasn't his. He was giving her a hard time, saying the baby wasn't his. And like I was following that, and I'm like, this baby looks so much like this guy. How can he sit here and say this baby's not his? So, you know, I'm commenting like everybody else commenting. I'm putting my 2 cents in or whatever, whatever. So I think eventually she came in my DM. No, I left her a comment on her story. And you know, when you leave a comment on a story, it automatically goes in the DM. So she would respond to me. So eventually me and her would just talk like through the DM, like regular average people. You know, I would hit her up and say, how you doing? She would ask me the same. She would tell me if things were getting better with him or not. And I would just be like, I don't know. She had him blocked. So I was still following him. So if anything happened with him, I would come in her DMs and let her know. So long story short, you know, as all this is going on, I'm still living my life. This was back in like 2017, 2018, right around in there. So I ended up traveling down south by bus because I would travel back and forth a lot between New York and Georgia. And sometimes I would get a flight. Well, most of the time I flew. But during this point in time, I was trying to save money, so I took the Greyhound bus. And this Greyhound bus trip, you know, I never liked taking the Greyhound bus because it takes all day. It's an 18-hour ride from New York to Georgia, and you start feeling like you're living on the bus, and then the bus starts to stink. And it's like the weirdest people in the world take the Greyhound bus. It's like, I hate to be stereotypical, but it's just like some real undesirable people on the Greyhound bus. So I usually just, you know, sit in my seat, put my music on, and I look out the window through the whole trip. I try to bring myself food so I ain't got to keep getting up and getting off the bus and all this and all that. So on this particular trip, we, you know, made all those unnecessary stops down the road like we always do, which makes the trip longer than what it got to be. So we got off in Virginia. And, you know, I'm waiting inside of the bus depot, waiting for them to reload the bus, clean it up, whatever they're going to do, gas it up, whatever. So as I'm in the bus depot in Virginia, in Richmond, I see that guy, Boot Gang. I don't know if anybody know who this guy is because he is not important, and he's definitely not even famous anymore or popular because I don't even want to consider him even famous then. But this was that black guy that was running up in Dunkin' Donuts, taking donuts, stealing stuff, and then hollering, boom gang, or whatever. And I only knew who he was because my nephew would follow him on Instagram. Basically, he was just running in stores, taking stuff, and just videotaping himself doing it, and just that was what he was popular for. So I seen him, and I'm like, what is he doing in this Greyhound bus station? You know, this is before I awoke to what was happening to me, and I didn't really know what was going on. I mean, I had no clue what was going on. I just thought I ended up seeing somebody popular on the Greyhound bus. So I'm like, what is he doing on the Greyhound bus? Don't he got a little check, you know? I think got a little change. So I'm like, well, maybe he got to just get somewhere that's local. You know, people don't really want to fly. If you live in Richmond, Virginia and you're trying to get to like DC, like you don't really want to catch a flight, you know. You kind of just want to drive there. If you're trying to get from Richmond to Baltimore, places like that, that's local. You're not necessarily trying to catch a flight just to get to places that's maybe like 4 to 5 hours away by car, you know. So I was thinking to myself, maybe he's trying to, you know, travel locally. But then I think to myself, well, most celebrities have those Sprinter vans and they have drivers and stuff like that because they don't necessarily want to be that close to the public, especially on the Greyhound bus. But I was like, you know, maybe he's just a Instagram star. He's not a real certified celebrity. So maybe he's just trying to save money by getting the Greyhound bus. I respect it, and you know, I seen him looking at me. He was just staring at me, and I could recall how he was staring at me. And I never been the kind of person that was really, I don't know, enamored by celebrities. Like, I never really cared, especially when you see them in person, because it's like when you have these thoughts of them, like they're just so high up, and then when you see them, you just see like a regular person, and they just look like regular people, and then you just kind of be like, well, what do I look like running up to that person, trying to get an autograph when they just look like basic people, you know? So he just kept looking at me like he was trying to summons me over with his eyes, and I just kept looking at him like, okay, I see you, I see who you are, that's what's up. All right, moving on. You know, I only have certain celebrities on my list of people that I would fan out about, and like he wasn't one of them. So, you know, long story short, we got back on the bus. The bus kept moving forward down south, and then the next trip that we got off was in North Carolina. So, mind you, when I got we got on North Carolina, we sat there, we loaded up the bus, or whatever. Everything went the way it went. And I actually ended up missing my bus in North Carolina because I went outside to smoke a cigarette, but I only took like 5 minutes to smoke a cigarette. And the bus was supposed to be taking off at, like, I think 40 minutes after the hour. And when I got back in the bus depot, I looked at my phone and it was like 10:20, and I never heard an announcement. Like, if you ever rode the Greyhound bus before, you know that you're going to hear the announcements as long as you're inside of the bus depot because they're loud. I never heard an announcement. So I'm waiting, and it's like 40 minutes past 10, and I go up to the window, and I'm like, okay, so what's going on with the bus? They said they were going to be loading at a certain time. And I'm like, what's going on? And then he tells me, oh, the bus is leaving now. So I go outside to see the bus is leaving. And I'm like, how is the bus just leaving? Like, I never heard an announcement, and I've been sitting here. You know, like, I've paid attention. Like, I've been sitting here. So that was weird. I ended up getting left with like another person. And, you know, we ended up bonding over like the bus leaving us. And I'm like, so how am I supposed to get my things? My things were on that bus. Because like as soon as I got outside, all I seen was the bus pulling off. And I'm like, can y'all call the bus back? Like, you know, like they're like, no, that's not how we do things. You got to make sure you pay attention. And I'm like, there was never an announcement. So that was that. And I don't know, that was weird. It was like a weird time lapse thing. I don't know. I can't explain it, but it was weird. So I ended up getting stuck there in North Carolina. I had to wait another hour for another bus to come, or for another bus to be ready to take us to Atlanta. So I waited with the person that I was sitting there with. We were bonding over the situation. Like, neither one of us heard the announcement, blah blah blah. So as the bus came, and when it came, we started loading the bus, getting on the bus or whatever. And I look over to my right as I'm waiting in line for to get on the bus, because there's people in front of me. And I look over to my right, and the person that, also missed the bus was standing behind me because we were still talking. And I look over to my right, and I turn around and I ask him, and I'm like, is that Orlando Brown? And I'm like, I know I'm not tweaking. That is Orlando Brown. So I'm like, okay, there go Orlando Brown. He's standing in line. He's looking at me out the corner of his eye, but he's looking real nervous. You understand what I'm saying? This was back before I said I had no clue what was going on. So he's looking out the corner of his eye at me, and he's standing there with his luggage. He got like a Gucci bag and like Gucci flip-flops on with socks. and he's getting ready to get on the bus. And I couldn't really necessarily, I can't remember where he was going, where that bus was going to. But I'm like, okay, wow, what is he doing on a Greyhound bus? Like, where is he going? And I'm asking the guy behind me, the one that also got lost, and he's just like playing it real casual, like, oh, for real? Like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, okay, like maybe it's not that big of a deal, but still, like, that's just weird to me. So either way, slice it, I got on the bus. I went to Atlanta. Eventually, we had to wait, go get our things. I went and got my stuff, and I made my way because I live an hour outside of Atlanta, so I had to connect to another bus. So I made my way to my location. So, long story short, I came to Georgia. I spent maybe like 2 weeks here, and I caught a flight back to New York because after that bus ride, with all that different stuff going on, I was like, I'm catching a flight. I'm not doing this Greyhound bus stuff again. Like, that was the worst. And I feel like every year, every time I take the Greyhound bus, it gets worse and worse. And I feel like this, now they can care less. Like, back then, they would at least try to, reimburse you, give you a ticket for food if something happened with your things or the bus, or they would try to make things right. Like, now the Greyhound bus station is filled with people who just don't care. I don't know if they're not getting paid enough or what, but those people just, the customer service is horrible. The buses are stinky. I mean, we're in 2020 and most of those buses are still old. Like, no, the Greyhound bus is a no. So I caught a flight back to New York. So as and everybody know anything about Atlanta airport, you got to get a plane train. So I get myself checked into the airport or whatever. I think I was making my way to my terminal. I was flying out. Yes, I was making my way to my terminal. So I get myself checked in or whatever. I take off my shoes. I put my things in the bin and whatever. I let them check me, blah, blah, blah. So as I'm looking in front of me and the person in front of me, I'm like, oh my God, I know that person. That person looked familiar. Then I'm like, oh, that's Yandy from Love and Hip Hop, New York. So me and her, our guests, are both going back to New York. So I know Yandy. Well, I don't know Yandy personally, but I know Yandy grew up in like Grant Projects on 120. Is that 7th or 125th? Like 125th and I want to say St. Nick. I haven't been to New York in a little while, so it's like I said, my recollection is it comes and it goes. 120. Everybody from New York know where Grant Projects at. If you from Harlem and you from New York, you know where Grant Projects is at. It's right there on like St. Nick, 125th. I think that's Convent, right around Amps. I think like 125th and Amps, right around in there. So anyway, it's in between Amps and something else. So anyway, I see her and I'm like, just look at me. Like, it's like celebrities everywhere, celebrities on parade. Like, first I seen 2 on the Greyhound bus and bingo, here we go again. So I'm on the plane train with her and she just kept looking at me. And I remember she just kept looking at me and I had my headscarf on and I had my I'm flying clothes on with, like my jogger sweats and jogger hoodie. And I had my headscarf on because that's how I fly. I don't fly trying to look cute. Like, I fly comfortable because I got to be sitting in the same spot for 2 hours. So I try to make sure that I fly comfortable. And at the time, I was flying Frontier. I never flew Spirit before, even though I know Spirit is extremely cheap. But Spirit usually is never going where I want them to go. So I could never find Spirit tickets. But I used to fly Frontier a lot. So she was flying Frontier. Me and her ended up on the same plane. And I'm like, she got all that money and she flying Frontier. I mean, Frontier is good money for a good clean trip for your money. It's cheap, but it's not dirt cheap. But I thought to myself, well, just because she has money don't mean she has to spend it all in one place. But me personally, I'd rather fly American or something like that. But that's only because Frontier charges you for everything. Like, even though the plane ticket is cheap, they charge you for luggage. They charge you for carry-on. They charge you for food. They charge you for soda. Whereas if you fly American or something like that, like your carry-ons are free. And And that's it. They're not charging you all these extra fees for everything else. But I was like, okay, just because she has money, don't she mean she have to spend it all in one place? And she also had her 2 children with her. So I was like, that's more money. She got to pay for her seat, and she got to pay for her children's seat. So she probably was trying to, cut corners, because just because you have money don't mean you got to spend it all in one place. And I respect that. So, her children were actually sitting right next to me on the plane train. And her son, he's a little boy, so he was doing like a lot of, running around in circles and stuff. And then like he was just sitting next to me, and she just kept looking at me like I was literally like the only other black person on the. We were probably like the only 2 black people on the plane train. And Yandy is like famous, but she's more like popular. She's not necessarily like famous, so she's not to the point where it's like people from other cultures and ethnicities would really know who she is. She just kept looking at me like, I know this black girl know who I am. So it's like, why isn't she not coming up to me asking me for a picture or nothing like that? And like I told you, I just am not like that when it comes to celebrities. Like I looked at her and I seen like a regular person that was on the plane train. So as it was a lot of people getting off the plane train, so her son was kind of lagging behind. So I kind of just took his hand. I was like, okay, go with mommy, go with mommy. Because she was looking like she was about to leave him. And I was like, well, what kind of foolishness? But whatever. So I was like, go with mommy, go with mommy, go with mommy. So she got off the plane train before me. She had a lot of stuff with her. I got off the plane train behind her. And, she ended up taking off in front of me. And, I was behind her. And I went my way and she went her way. And I sat in my seat, which was like somewhere in the back of the plane because I had economy seats. And I think she had got like first class seats or whatever. She sat up there, and we landed, and I ain't see her after we landed in New York. So that was that with that. But then I just realized, like, my whole life, I think they say, I heard in the TI community that they tried to make most like targeted individuals celebrities. Like that's what they try to do. And I realized that, I've had like throughout my life, living in New York, especially, growing up in New York, especially, I had like a lot of, celebrity experiences. I seen a lot of celebrities throughout my life. And on top of that, I went to school with ASAP Rocky. So, but he was like in the 12th grade when I was in the ninth grade. So he got a couple of years on me, but I went to school with ASAP Rocky, and also the girl from, I don't even know if anybody watched this show or if anybody know this girl, but it's a show called The Pink Teacup, and it's about a soul food restaurant in Brooklyn. And the girl that is one of the main people in the show, she's the owner of the soul food restaurant, wife or baby mother or whatever you want to call it. I went to school with her, Anna. And me and her were in the same grade, so we're like the same age. But she was always super tall. She was like 6 feet in the ninth grade, and she used to always try to bully me. And she was pretty mean to me most of the time. And she also tried to date my boyfriend. So I just found that to be interesting. When I see her in the pink teacup, I'm like, my eyes don't deceive me, But all I'm saying is that, I don't know what the situation is. And once I came to, and I started to realize what was going on. Well, when I was working at my job, and I was doing like my front desk work or whatever, one of the women I work with, she used to do like little small plays, and she used to do like theater plays or whatever, and she used to always go on and on like, oh, Latifah, you have so much personality, you're just so funny, you're so animated, like you need to try to act. And she brought me a script and told me to study it, and then told me to come downtown at a certain time so that I could be able to audition for a part. And I was just kind of like, okay, you know what I mean? So she gave me the script, and I was just like, it was like some old Negro spiritual stuff, and I was just like, girl, I'm not really interested. I never really been interested in being an actor or being like in the media or on TV at really no period in my life. So I was just kind of like, and then when I had drama class in high school, my friends all told me I was a horrible actor. So I was like, okay, there goes that. But I took the script from her or whatever, and I memorized it. But it was like the time of the morning that she wanted me to be down there. I was like, girl, forget about it, because I worked overnight. I worked from 12 to 8. So she wanted me to get downtown like 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, I ain't gonna make it. So I called her and I told her, like, girl, I'm not gonna make it. And she seemed to have an attitude with me after that. Like, we was getting along so fine before then. She had the same name as my mother. So, we bonded off that. But we got along so fine leading up until that point where I just decided that I didn't want to be in no play. I didn't want to be in theater or whatever. But that was that with that. But just a lot of celebrity experiences. And like I said, this has been happening to me throughout my life. This is not something that just started, you know, when I realized that it was going on. This has been going on with me my whole life. That's the reason why, even in high school, with going to school with ASAP Rocky and going to school with the girl from the Pink Teacup and things like that. So pretty much whatever Orlando Brown say, I believe is true. If he say that, then I get like, oh, well, that's that with that, because I know that, you know, he's about that life or whatever. But I'm going to come back and I'm going to, do some scriptures, some prayers, and talk about God, because that's who we need. Talk about Jesus, because that's who we need, and that's what's important. All this other stuff. I mean, I feel like if you don't know what's going on by now, you just don't want to know. So what we really need to be focused on is giving our life to Jesus, and making Jesus the head front man of our life. And yep, so that's all I wanted to say.